Well,
I have to turn that off for
oh,
it to
okay, okay. You have
work.
to turn that off for this to work.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I can't see chat yet, so.
see if you can
Oh,
get
there it
the.
is.
Is it
Yeah,
working?
I got it. Yeah, it came up as live.
So why is the? Oh no, it's completely working. All
Yeah,
right, we're
I
good.
yeah,
All right, I will keep this up on my
yeah, it
phone.
works.
So I need to.
Whoa.
Actually, can you send me the link to the live stream? Just DM it to me on Discord really quick.
What? Yeah, I can.
The direct live stream link.
Dude, it's so weird, like looking at myself when I look at the camera, and it's.
It's off.
Yeah, I sent it to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. People will probably potentially filter in here. I'm going to
Yeah,
send it. We'll
give
wait
it
till
5.
7. I mean, we're gonna wait till 7 p.m.
Yeah, 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 and then I think we can just, if we can just start ripping through the
Yeah,
questions we have
we'll
in the
start.
chat, and then when that's empty, if nobody joins, we can just call it.
Yeah, I mean, we got plenty. We'll talk for at least 30 minutes on them, so we'll answer the questions. This will be recorded too, so people can watch the
Yeah,
VOD later.
wonderful.
But okay, so developer
People can watch
Q&A
the
is going
pod.
live now. See you there. Ask your questions and. All right, I'm gonna send it.
Boy.
Okay, now I need to do this. Okay. I'm gonna leave it to you to look at the stream itself. I can't do it because I have to leave my
Okay,
screens
yeah.
exactly like this.
I'll have my eyes on the chat. You're streaming the Discord right now, though, and not our cams.
It might be delayed. You sure it's not our cams
Yeah, it's
now?
still. Yeah, it is now. It's.
Okay, okay.
I'll just. I mean, it's live apparently, allegedly. So
I think there's a small delay, but okay. I
yeah, there's
will
probably a little bit of a delay.
I will pull up the questions on my phone. I have my phone right in front of me here. I can read from that. And then you can just watch. You won't have to click off the stream. So we'll wait till 7.
Yeah, we're just chilling. Just chilling. It's been a while since I've like watched the trailer.
Well, it's going to be looping, so.
It's gonna be looping. It's live. I can see it. Yo, what's up, Micah? Thank you.
We got some people typing in Q&A chat as well, which leads me to believe there's some people
Oh,
watching.
really? Sweet.
We'll give it till 7
Oh,
p.m. for anyone who's in here already. And then, yeah, I mean, this is going to be pretty casual, so.
Yep. I got the chat up, so if you ask a question, we'll probably get to it before 7, but we'll just kind of chill until 7. Give people time to roll in.
So we got 10 people watching, is what I'm seeing.
Oh, thanks, Frodo T. Baggins. What's up?
I wish I could see. Maybe I could pull. Let me pull it up. See if I can pull up the chat. I
You can
want to be able
probably
to
pull
see
it
it.
up.
I need to pull up
I
my
think you
phone
can.
though.
I think you can. If you go to the Twitch or the YouTube chat and you go on the chat box, the 3 dots, you can have a pop out chat. That's what I got.
Okay, I got it on my phone. This will work fine. I got a really janky Streamlabs setup, so this is definitely not ideal, but it'll work.
It'll work. Yeah.
To anyone who's
Fair
watching, we have
enough.
15 people watching.
Holy smokes.
Let us know if the sound is okay. If one of us is too loud or too quiet. We got another 5 or so minutes before we're gonna actually get started. Sari, what's up?
What up?
Sari, Micah, Brad. Yeah, if you guys want to just start dumping questions in the YouTube chat, that's fine too. We're gonna be reading from the Discord chat as well as the YouTube chat, so.
Yeah, I think we should probably do the YouTube comments first.
Yeah, yep, I would agree. We'll probably default
Cool.
to the YouTube stuff because people are here live. Because some of the people that asked in Q&A are probably not gonna potentially not be watching live.
Yeah, for sure.
I think our goal is like, I don't know, this could really be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. So we'll just get through questions and see how we'll just fill it out.
For sure.
More people typing in the Q&A chat and Discord. Thanks for that. Keep them coming.
Sweet.
Stream and sound is good. Okay, great. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm gonna take 2 seconds real quick.
Yeah, you're good. We got a couple more minutes still before we get started.
Cool.
Yep, we're gonna. You guys can post in YouTube, or you could post in the Discord chat as well. Either way, we'll get through all of them. I think we'll probably default to the YouTube questions first, um, just because people are here live, and then we'll go through the Discord questions as well. Though this will be
Yo, what's up,
recorded.
Crystal? That's awesome.
Crystal, welcome. Been a minute.
Been a minute.
20 people.
Holy
Hey, not
smokes.
bad. We got a decent amount of people watching.
I'm gonna refresh my stream. It's so wild to like watch myself walk back on screen.
There is a delay, by the way. Because I got my phone in front of me here,
Mhm.
and there's like maybe a 20-second delay. I don't know if that's because I have a stream delay or something, but on Streamlabs, if I do, it's not intentional, but this will be just fine. 3 more minutes, then we'll get started.
Oh, man. I was trying to better snacks like granola bars or something. Just like munch for snacks. I'm like I feel nothing.
I just absolutely downed a sloppy Joe right before this, so
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy work,
I
bro.
wasn't gonna get greasy on cam. I had to put it away before we went live.
Meals you need like 7 paper towels to eat.
Yeah. How we been doing?
Oh.
We've been good. We've been good. We've been cooking on this for a while. Wake and I are our business partners in more ways than one, so this is the latest venture.
What? What is the what?
I
What does that mean, bro?
I meant Black Pearl
It's
Emerald.
one way to clarify.
Black Pearl Emerald was Mark 1.
Oh yeah.
Discord note of sounds.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I can fix that really quick. I knew that was gonna be a problem.
You know that first one's gonna trigger somebody to check their Discord
No, that's good.
messages. Big game.
Okay, we're good. I'd muted. I had one channel that's unmuted, so we should be good.
Okay, cool.
2 more minutes. We'll get going. Are we going to be playing any? We are not going to be doing any live demonstrations during this Q&A, but that's not to say that couldn't happen in the future. Obviously, we're very early in development. What you're going to be seeing is we're going to just be looping the trailer for this one. Kind of a bare bones setup, but it'll be enough of something a visual while we're just talking.
Yeah.
We won't be playing any, but we will probably be talking about information that is not listed anywhere else. So it'll, news to people that are not us, basically. Because, we have a lot of stuff documented on Kickstarter. There's stuff in the trailer. There's been some information shared in the Discord that's not necessarily been publicly posted elsewhere yet. So you'll probably learn some new things today.
Well, we got like a minute till you want to just start cracking.
Yeah, sure. You want me to? We can go from the top. Actually, we'll start with a brief introduction first. We'll explain who we are, explain what this is, and then we'll go from the top and then just see where it takes us.
Yeah,
I can start. I can start.
Go for it.
So my name's Chris. I'm part of the Wildbound development team. We're also known as Black Pearl Entertainment. This is our first official project. This is our first official Kickstarter. Kickstarter went live roughly a week ago. We are 22% funded of our 100K goal so far, which is exciting. Good pace so far. Had a lot of good support and all that, so that's exciting. We are basically we're made up of 6 co-developers that essentially co-own the business as well. My role is effectively the CEO or the team lead there, but also have a heavy involvement in the programming side and the Unreal development side.
Sweet. I'm Wake. Or actual name's Harrison. Sorry, it's so weird to introduce myself like that. But I'm the creative director for Black Pearl Entertainment on this project. Guys might know us from like previous project. I'm not gonna explicitly say what it was. We said it before earlier in the live stream. You can go find it. But yeah, just really excited to be here and answering questions from people that are interested in the Kickstarter. So
yeah, and between the both of us, we can pretty much answer anything on behalf of the team.
Oh
Harrison's,
yeah.
it largely in charge of story development, back end, things like that. So between the
Mhm.
both of us, we can definitely answer pretty much any question. So,
Oh yeah. I don't. Yeah, there's nothing we can't really answer.
mm-hmm. Okay. Well, 701, we'll get right into it. I'm gonna start from the top of YouTube and we'll go down. We currently have 25 people watching, which is awesome. Thanks for joining in. Um, Sorry if it was annoying to get another ping from the Discord. We're trying to be sparing with that, but figured this warranted a ping. It'd be interesting for everyone. So, first question is: First question from Micah. Are there going to be any more cleanup on the models at all near the end of development? So, I would say the wild models has been one of, if not the definitely one of the biggest challenges for us. Definitely a steep learning curve. We actually started internally with having essentially two of our developers full time in Blender, and they have they have technical engineering backgrounds, so they're sharp guys, but we're new to Blender, obviously. So there was a steep learning curve for us on that, and just kind of feeling out how we wanted to how to make a model, how to get it in Unreal, how to make it move, how to texture it, everything. So definitely a steep learning curve there. And then about halfway through where we are today, we actually started partnering with some freelancers that are more experienced in Blender, and that helped quite a bit. Obviously, our devs got pretty good over several months of self-teaching, basically, and getting up to speed with everything. And then once we kind of partnered with a few freelancers, we kind of came into a really good workflow where we were able to make our own models and do everything internally, but then also work alongside our partners and able to kind of bounce questions back and forth, bounce information back and forth. So yeah, that worked out really well for us.
Yep. I think it's really easy to say that was the biggest hiccup was learning how to do the models and getting those all sorted out.
Yeah, and as for touching them up, definitely, yeah. In short, yes. In terms of quality, we're trying to improve. Trying to basically just improve the quality there. There was a lot of like I mentioned, there was a heavy learning curve at the beginning, so we've gotten a lot better as we've gone through, and now that we have some partners as well, that'll help a significant amount. Unfortunately,
Yeah, you want to take a sec to fix the
I
cameras?
am going to, yeah. I just saw that for some
Okay.
reason. I got it
Yeah.
now. You guys will see it fixed here in just a second. Sorry, Discord notification messed up the cameras there. So yeah. In short, there, Micah. Yeah, we're looking at improving monster quality. It's been a big challenge for us. We've made some pretty big strides
Mhm.
on it, and we've come into a new workflow,
Yep.
especially towards the end of the trailer sprint here.
Yeah, I will say also in terms of like models in general, a lot of the NPCs also will probably be getting makeovers as well. Um, but yeah, just overall there will be a lot more polish on the models moving forward.
Yep, and we've obviously seen some feedback, people, some mixed opinions on both creatures and NPCs, and we see and feel the same thing. So it's something that we're looking at going forward, trying to improve the quality of. Okay,
Sure.
we'll
All right.
go into the next question.
Yeah, we got a question from Brad saying, well, I guess it is a question of two comments. I was asking, will this game have PvP? And another comment saying, I really hope this game has PvP. I'm rooting for this game. Well, thanks for the support, Brad. Really appreciate that. Do you want to answer that, Chris?
I can, unless you want to start.
um, I believe it's a stretch goal. Am I incorrect in that?
So yeah, it's technically a stretch goal, and maybe some clarification on the stretch goal side of things. So some of the stretch goals are obviously much more difficult than the kind of the base game is detailed out to be, specifically on the console porting and the multiplayer side. There's obviously a lot of development time and complexity and funding and all sorts of things that go along with that. But in terms of some of the more simpler features, I think what the current plan is if we don't hit those stretch goals, it's that they would be added at a later time. So PvP is a stretch goal. If we hit that, it'll be delivered with the 1.0 release. But if it's not, that's not to say that it won't ever come. Specifically with PvP, because I think it's obvious to everyone that that's a pretty big selling point, and that's something that everyone would like, ideally. It's
Okay,
probably something that would end up being, released later on though, after the 1.0 update.
for sure. I think with likelihood with how things are going at the moment, it'll likely be something like you said, something that's added on later. And we do want to add like post game content, I know. So when we get around to that post release, that'll probably be one of the first things we look to incorporate if we don't hit the stretch goal.
Yep. Yeah, good question there. Let's see. Next question is
I got
Harrison.
it.
If you see one, go ahead.
Yeah, I got it. So for Micah again, would your team be open to a weekly slash bi-weekly slash monthly dev stream? Either talk about what you're working on or do development on stream. That's probably a question for you to answer.
Yeah. I think we want to. So, and this is partly detailed out on the Kickstarter. We want to stay connected, especially with the supporter community. That's something that we've been, we've posted about and kind of made the claim of, that we want to stay connected with the backers specifically and get feedback from them, and also just obviously keep them in the loop. That's supposed to be one of the kind of the benefits that you get from supporting the Kickstarter, right? Is that you're going to get that exclusive backer role and get the follow development more closely. So in terms of how regular we would do a, call it a devlog or a Q&A or whatever, I can't say for certain. It's pretty cool that we have it seems like a decent amount of interaction with this one so far. And if people really like it and it serves as a good time to touch base with everyone, then yeah, I don't know, once a month feels about right-ish, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so. That feels pretty good. Like the people that are passionate, really passionate, and we want to make a game that, um, can cater to everybody and has a little bit of everything for everybody. So like getting active feedback while we're in the process of making it definitely goes a long way to help achieve those goals. So I'm not against like a monthly stream or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying there always will be one, but you'll definitely be in the loop. And if streams is one way that you want to stay in the loop, then we can definitely look at that.
Yeah, I will say, just in terms of difficulty and how long things take, I don't think we'll ever get into the long form content of like actually developing on stream. I don't want to say that's an immediate veto, but I don't really see us doing that, just because of the nature of how long things take, and wanting to keep the content engaging. So I assume what we would do is structure it like this: we come with an agenda to the stream. We have a list of topics or questions that we're going to cover during the stream. So
Mhm.
yeah, all that to say is, yeah, there'll be more content like this in the future, but kind of up for
Yeah,
debate on what it'll look like. Next
it'd be really
question.
fun to do like monster reveals and stuff like that
Yeah, for
with the
sure.
stream. That'd be pretty cool.
Reveals of any kind, just information sharing. It's probably a good way to do that. Is share it live here first, so the people that are really interested get to kind of learn about it earlier first, and then if we post it to socials, it comes a little later. Next question
Mhm.
from Tyler is, how big is your team? We can start with that. So our team is currently, the company is co-owned by our 6 lead developers. They all have professional backgrounds and mainly engineering and programming. But in terms of game development, it's a relatively newer team. 3 of the members, 2 of them being us, were involved in a kind of a for fun project. It was a Pokemon ROM hack. It's kind of what inspired us to get involved and start come up with something on our own. Had some pretty good success there, and had a lot of people play that, and that's largely what inspired us to try to make and create our own game in our own universe. So largely we have 6 developers, and then we do have several partners and freelancers that we work with. That's more than I can count, and we've actually, some of the people that we've worked with less than 5 times individually. And then there's some people now that we've developed some pretty lasting relationships with, that have given us good quality, or that we really enjoyed working with, and are they're kind of becoming they become more of a long-term partner rather than just a freelancer picking up a job here or there. And yeah, I don't know. It's been several people. I don't have an exact number. Over 10 individuals for sure that fall into that
Like way
category.
over 10.
Way over 10.
Like,
I don't know the number, but it's a lot.
like I feel like it's like maybe pushing like 30 low key, maybe more.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Not
So
not everyone's work we've used, but we have used a lot of freelancers.
Yep, that's an interesting point too to bring up is yeah, we've not used everyone's work, so part of the difficulty of, starting into finding partners and freelancers is you might try to work with someone and then you either don't get along or the quality of work isn't up to par with what you're hoping for, or there's just difficulty in scheduling or delivery or price point or really anything. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was another hurdle we had to overcome, was basically finding good people to partner with that we meshed well with.
it goes both ways. That's like not to say that anyone that we've worked with that we aren't using their stuff did like poor work. We're not saying that at all. There's a lot of it is like learning how to communicate with them and making sure that you understand their portfolio and what they're able to produce and what you're asking exactly. So there've been a lot of growing pains with that as well. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and even us, just I mean, a lot of these people have taught us a lot, specifically in the Blender realm. I'll give a special shout out to those guys. There's a lot of those people we've gone back and forth with, and we're doing some pretty unique kind of work between connecting Blender and Unreal, and learning from them, and them learning from us, kind of back and forth. They've been really helpful, and there's questions that are outside of the work that they've kind of been hired out to do. They're willing to step in and help with that. So that's been really nice as well.
cool. I feel like we kind of answered Matthew's question. The next one is a pet project or full time. Just curious. This is right now a pet project, um, but we're hoping to make it a full time thing. But time will tell on that one.
Yeah, I'd call it an advanced pet project. All in all, it's
Pet
been yeah, it's
if
been
pet project is so good, where's pet project two?
yeah, it's more of a falls in pet project 2 category, but it's been all between the 6 lead developers here. It's been roughly at this point almost pushing a year of development. And I mean, the time sync each week varies a lot, especially from person to person as well, but also just from week to week. And there's some weeks where it's, between 20 and 40 hours a week per person are getting put in. So it's, I mean, it's pushing a full-time job, right, for everyone. But that's part of the hope, is when we're proceeding into this next phase and seeking more funding, is that we kind of desperately need basically just more time, more people's times on our development team. So hoping that we can at least convert a few people over to be able to kind of work on it full time, just because obviously it's a large scope, it's a difficult project, and yeah, to get it to the end, that's probably what we're going to need.
Mhm. Question from Crystal: will this game have a wake clock? No, it will not. It will not have a wake lock. It will have hopefully a Nuzlocke mode. I believe that's also stretch gold though.
That is the first stretch goal,
Hmm.
and again, that's one that would very quickly be added post launch if we don't reach that on the Kickstarter. It's
Yeah,
just yeah, it's just, is that included within the 1.0 or not, is essentially what that boils down to.
yeah. That being said, there will be difficulties, and you can definitely implement your own rule set to make the game, suitable to whatever kind of difficulty level you're really trying to push it towards. But in terms of like specific rule sets, no, that will be stretch gold. But um, the hope is to include tools that allow you to do that stuff easily. Because I know there are other games in the genre where you are open world and you're trying to adhere to your own rule set. And you like kind of can't really. So the goal is to at least have the tools available to make it easy for you to do that.
Do you wanna talk on, because it's an interesting talking point. I think a lot of people would find interest in it. Kind of dive into the kind of the sort of planned difficulty settings that we have right now.
Oh sure. Hang on. I gotta give me a second so that I'm not
You're good, and I can talk on it for
completely yap
20.
for like
I
2 seconds
I
while
can
I
yap for
find the
10 seconds.
specific names.
Yeah, so all that to say is we're currently planning to have multiple difficulty settings, which is something that we feel the other games in this genre don't usually have, and they oftentimes lean too far into the easy difficulty, and that's a frustration that a lot of the more hardcore fans have, is that the games, especially the newer games, are too easy. So we're trying to our best to tailor to both audiences, and we're gonna have a couple different difficulties with different game modes. Harrison will talk more on that, but yeah,
Yeah,
basically
I can talk now.
okay. Okay.
I went searching for it and I didn't find it, so whatever. Here we go. So we're basically gonna have three like stages of difficulty. You have your easy mode. Name's unofficial at the moment,
Yeah.
but tier one, you have, hey, this is I haven't played many RPGs or any like multiple or games where I'm managing an entire party of magic creatures and using like type advantages and stuff like that. So the goal is for easy mode to, be very easy and explain, like not be too cluttered with like extra information like terrain and like status effects and stuff like that. Just keep it very like baseline. And then you have normal mode where we'll like introduce kind of the higher level concepts that are planned for the game. We want the battle system to be pretty in depth and like provide a lot of meaningful choices with the creatures and their inherent abilities as well as the move selection. We want it to be pretty dynamic and offer a lot of differing ways to play. So like you can set up a very defensive strategy where they're punished for switching into you, or you can set up a very aggressive strategy where you're making different moves hit harder or increasing your resistances or it's stuff like that. To be very like bare bones about it, you can pause in the trailer to kind of see some of those moves and abilities that we're thinking about. And the last tier is a like a actual like um, difficulty. Like it's weird to say, but like I feel like normal, like easy and normal, and then you have like very
Hardcore.
hard mode. Yeah, hardcore, I would say. And the plan is like hopefully we can get that stretch goal so we can implement permadeath, but like you can just not use a creature if it dies. Um, but the goal is to really push the limits on pretty much every tool that we're going to incorporate in the game. Like make every single fight where you have to like you might lose like every fight you walk into for the first time. You might have to come up with your own specialized strategies and kind of really dive deep into the game to kind of treat it almost less like an RPG and more like a puzzle game where you're trying to figure out how to get to the end of this battle. So that's kind of the goal, taking a lot of inspiration from shout out to Dexa. If you have seen any projects made by him, just give him a search on Twitter really quick and you can figure out what he's all about. But big shout outs to him for kind of inspiring that game mode. It's not out yet, obviously, because the game's still on Kickstarter, but I'm really looking forward to develop that. That's one of the things I'm really passionate about coming from our other project, Black Pearl Emerald, where I did most of or pretty much all the encounters besides a few, as well as like the trainer fights and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have much else to say besides that.
No, that's good. The only thing I was gonna add, which I think a lot of I've seen people ask, maybe not necessarily in the Q&A chat about it. I think actually there was a question in the Q&A chat about it, so I'll throw it in now. But um, basically pertaining to difficulty and level scaling. So something that we from the beginning is that we're really trying to hit on is a universal level scaling system, which to our
Yep.
knowledge, pretty much no other game in the genre has they either don't do it or
No.
they don't do it well if they try to do it.
Yeah.
And so the big thing being is when you have an open world game, right? A true open world game, you can run anywhere and do anything in any order, which is really cool. But what happens is if you have a kind of a shadow linear progression baked into it, if you go to some areas that are super over leveled or under leveled, and then you kind of just progress through the game as you please. For example, later in the game, you might stumble into an area that you just missed originally, and you'll be way over leveled, and then you'll just completely smash the area with no thought, and it won't be challenging at all. Which that's no one likes that because that's like, oh, I'm level 70 and everything I'm fighting is level 10, right? And it's just you just smash it and there's no thought. Versus what we're
Mhm.
trying to do is to basically dynamically scale everything as you progress. And the way we're doing that, we've toyed with a lot of ideas on this, but
Mhm.
what we've come up with, I think, is a pretty neat and kind of simple method, which is basically going to take your story progression, and it's essentially like a mathematic equation of how what percent are you through the story. So, fuzzy numbers here. Say you're 10% of the way through the story, that'll get plugged into an equation and it'll dynamically scale everything, which is like wild encounters, it's catalyst carrier battles, anything, and it'll scale it up by a certain percentage. So basically the game on the back end is going to say, okay, you've progressed, 10 to 20% through the story. You should be about at level X, whatever that may be. And the game essentially tries to rebalance itself as you play through it, so it doesn't feel either way impossibly hard or stupidly easy if you're not going in the right order.
Hmm. Yeah. The goal is to have everything, like you have to be a little bit brain engaged to deal with it, and you shouldn't be in a scenario where you're steamrolling everything. You're in a spot where like you can't do anything. Like we want to be able to like, even though it's an open world RPG, we do want to foster still like being able to explore stuff. There might be different caveats that come with that, like you might not be able to encounter certain creatures until you're like maybe 40% in the game just because they're really OP or they only spawn at like a certain level or something. But in general, yeah. I just wanted to add that real quick.
No, that's good. Yeah, yeah. There'll be some big fights that'll be hard level locked, so you might stumble into something still, and it might be way too hard for you, so you have to come back later. But
Yep.
the goal is to keep it open world, so you can truly go wherever you want in the game. Is essentially going in the back and going to rebalance itself as you play through it to make it feel, engaging. Okay, enough on that topic. Here's a quick one. Do you have a business email or way to contact? So we do. I would say the easiest way to contact is if you just shoot a DM to the Wildbound game Discord, which if you're in the Wildbound Discord, you'll see that account chatting in general or in the announcements. You can feel free to shoot a message to that Discord account, and then if it gets more involved than just a back and forth on DM there, we do have a business email that we can share as well. You got another question here, so now I can find one.
Yeah, this should be a quick one to answer. Will you be adjusting the lighting a bit as well? Notice that in the ice area by the tens and the inn, the lighting looks a bit flat on the characters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can touch on that.
go for it.
So yes, yeah, lighting is something that we're gonna adjust, and actually, kind of relating to that as well, the weather system, the kind of the world builder or engine that we're working within. There's some pretty cool weather options that we've been playing with. Like a lot of options that we haven't really, that you don't really get to see in our trailer. It's not something that we really got to the point of in time to include in the trailer. But as for the final game, there will definitely be some dynamic weather situations where you're walking into certain areas, it'll start raining or there'll be storms. And that may prompt different wild spawns and things of that nature. And yeah, so lighting is can be challenging, and that's another thing that's been I'd say a learning curve for us within Unreal as well, is to get the
For sure.
lighting to look right and all that. So we've played that all, and I guess one example is what you're seeing right now is the Colosseum fight there. There used to be a giant roof over the Colosseum, and the shadows just, we struggled with that for a while, and it couldn't really get it to look right. And we ended up just kind of making the roof a lot more open so that the sun would shine in there, and it made things look a lot better. And that's how it is in the trailer. So yeah, all that to say is lighting has proven difficult and is difficult to get right, but we will continue to adjust it as we continue development.
For sure. So Tyler Berdinsky says, "How confident are you in a December 2027 release?"
Yeah, so confident we're gonna adhere to that. And again, the whole thing is we're trying to be open and honest with everyone as we continue through development. So depending on the amount of funding that we receive, can shape that a little bit. But the way the stretch goals are laid out too is we were strategic in the way that we basically tried to lay out the stretch goal dollar amounts in bite-sized chunks so that if we're raising less money, it essentially shrinks the scope of the game, right? And that's required because it takes money to make a project this big. So in the the longer the time sink, the difficulty, and all that, it all just requires money as you progress. So in terms of if we're on pace to hit that $100,000 minimum funding goal mark on Kickstarter, I think we have a good workflow established. We feel pretty good about actually getting to that December 2027 date for a 1.0. Yeah.
Does your team want to add, sorry, Micah asks again, does your team want to add modding support? If so, what kind of modding capabilities do you want to add? Just wilds or up to new levels in logic?
Yeah. It's another I'll call it a hidden stretch goal. It's something we definitely considered because it'd be cool to be able to kind of insert your own wilds or creatures or even modify stuff. I mean, as you guys know, the creature collectors, people ROM hacking is really big. So building that in and letting people kind of build their own rule sets, systems, etc. within a game, I think is enticing to people that are really into the genre. Unfortunately, it's not in the cards for a 1.0 release, but yeah, in the future, it's on the consideration list.
Gotcha. Siri, sorry, we'll go back to your question. I guess I did skip over that. Um, Siri asks, this wants to know why the stretch goals for the consoles are so large. Not sure their computer could run the game. Do we know? I don't. Is it going to be super intensive on the computer?
So we actually have done some preliminary tests on a pretty dated computer. I don't have the specs on hand right now, but if you go to our Steam page, which is live by the way, wishlist if you haven't already. Shameless plug there, but if you go to the Steam page, there's a like minimum. I think there's a minimum system requirements and a recommended system requirements. We did some testing on a pretty dated PC with an actual build of the game, and it was running fine. So it's intended to be ran on modern hardware, right? But we're gonna do our best to optimize it so that you don't need a super powerful computer. And I guess that's another maybe development struggle or learning curve that we've had is just optimization, especially for a large world like this and an open world, and having everything loaded in all the time. There's a lot of back end trickery that happens in these games to make them actually run efficiently, and that's something that even in really recent months we've gotten quite a bit better at. So we're going to continue optimizing and making the game run better. So
Yeah, I will also say, Siri, just because it is on the stretch goal doesn't mean that it won't get added into the game or it won't be something that comes out later. It's just not some. We're just not gonna be able to promise it releases on the exact same time that the PC version will release.
yep, and it's no secret that console porting it's a huge time sink and difficulty adder. So you know, with more money, we can buy more time and more resources. But if we're more limited on money, then it gets more challenging to do that alongside the rest of our scope. So that's why the stretch goal is so high, and that's unfortunately that's pretty typical for projects like this. It's difficult to release something on all platforms. It's a large difficulty adder to make that jump.
Mhm. Talia's got a quick question. How will the game be monetized? I think there won't be any microtransactions, I don't believe,
Yeah,
for
no.
anything of significant. Yeah.
Nope, no microtransactions at all. It'll be a strictly a one-time purchase. We're completely firm on that. Everyone knows how unenjoyable microtransactions, and unfortunately, that's kind of the standard in today's modern gaming. But no, it'll be a fixed price, one-time cost to purchase the full game. The only caveat to that is, assuming successful release and a successful post-release. If there's really high demand, then yeah, obviously DLC could be potentially considered, and that would be another probably one-time cost, a low one-time cost as well to unlock that content. But yeah, and I guess the only other thing too, I've seen a few people and had a few people inquire about cost. Don't want to give out anything firm because it's still super up in the air. But what I can tell you is we're not going to be at the $60 price point, so don't expect that. And even a lot of people know that the standard price in gaming and of games in general continues to rise. That $60 price point, which was kind of the standard for larger AAA games, is now seeming to go up and up. But yeah, no, we will be below the $60 price point. We're gonna try to keep it affordable, and yeah, that's all I can say about that for now. Though it'll be cheaper than that.
Um, Pants asks, will there be a free trial released soon so that people can see if they like the game before buying? There won't be a demo soon, but once we get closer to release, one of the Kickstarter backer rewards is getting access to a beta version of the game. And then I believe probably when we do actually release the game, there will be some sort of demo version so you can try before you buy.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest um, one of the biggest benefits, and it's been by far the highest selling tier on the Kickstarter, is getting that alpha access. Is essentially you'll get to play a small demo-like version of the game several months early before it comes out officially. Granted, it's not free, and you're going to be getting it earlier than most people, and you have to donate to the Kickstarter for access to that. But yeah,
Sweet.
yep.
I kind of touched on this already, Matthew, but how would you rate the intended difficulty? It depends. Like there'll be 3 different game modes. You can kind of curate the experience you want. If it's your first time playing like a party or a monster, I almost said monster managing, but like a monster fighter RPG.
Kind of monster managing.
Kind of monster man. If you think about it, the higher up you go, it's more about monster management. If you really think about it, it all comes down to the anyway. But easy will be like pretty walk in the park, just like very fundamentals. It shouldn't give you any challenge. And normal difficulty also like won't really be that hard if you know what you're doing and you're like excited about PvP. Like normal should be a cakewalk for you. It should be a pretty easy entry point. And maybe in the future, you know, if we get good support and people want more difficult stuff, I have absolutely no problem if you guys want like a super hardcore version of the game, even past like the intended hard difficulty. I wouldn't be opposed to cooking that either.
That's where Harrison flourishes. So yeah.
Yeah, you do not want to see the absolute devious cooks the first time I was tasked with making enemy enemy combatants in a video game.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yep. Okay. More of a comment, but a good one. Please, for the love of God, include specific numbers instead of this item increases damage, which is really funny, but also
So true.
Also true. It's so you're not alone in that, Matthew. We've had we specifically actually multiple developers within our team had that exact same thought, and even in the trailer, I think we added specific, instead of, like you say, increases damage, it's like we want to specifically call it like 10% increase in damage. The idea is we don't want to hide information from the player and make it that you have to go out, find a guide, or use some third-party calculator to get numbers. So we're going to make it a priority to include all numbers, stat changes, everything specifically within the game, so you shouldn't need a third-party tool. But yeah, good comment there.
The way I like to think about it is when I think about like giving information to the player, I want to reduce the amount of times you have to alt tab to open Google. Like you should just be able to view the information in game most of the time. If it's stuff like that, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like recently I've been playing like Final Fantasy, and a lot of those items are just increases damage. It's like, oh my god, and you have to alt tab and search that stuff.
Yeah.
Not a knock on that, but just for accessibility's sake.
Yeah, especially in the dated games, it feels like that was a bigger thing. Games have gotten better about it nowadays, but there's still quite a few that sort of sometimes that hide information. So yeah, our goal is to minimize alt tabbing essentially. Okay, next question. How much focus is there on adventuring? Will there be benefits to exploring every nook and cranny? You want to take that one, Harrison?
Yeah, sure. So there'll be a pretty big focus on adventuring. We'll have like your main areas where the main story goes, but the idea is that there will be like side quest areas, like specifically that you don't need to specifically go out of your way to go to, but you can. There'll be NPCs that'll point you in that direction, but you don't have to talk to them. You can just walk there and complete whatever side quest event is going on over there, and there will also be areas where NPCs don't point you towards, and they're 100% optional. So there will be a lot of reward for kind of going out of your way and learning Avium as best you can. and that'll like carry over to harder difficulties where you get like exclusive items, or you're able to route your encounters in a better way, so that you're getting more specific creatures that you want to use for your run and stuff like that. So there will be a pretty big like emphasis on the exploration. The idea is to like feed that gameplay loop where you go and explore, you find a thing, there's a challenge, you have to problem solve for that challenge, you get more tools for your arsenal, and the game just continues to expand from there. So there should be a lot of like isolated challenges for you to, and like rewards and stuff for exploring. So there shouldn't be like any like, the last thing I want is for someone to go to an area and it feels like kind of like dead, like there's nothing to do there, or the reward was inconsequential. So that's kind of what I have to say about that.
Yeah. The other thing too is, yeah, being open world, we're trying to. There'll be main quest lines, but also side quest lines, and obviously you only need to complete the main quest lines to technically beat the game. But we're gonna do everything we can to, like Harrison just said, make every place have a purpose, right? We don't want places where you go and there's nothing there. And I think the best way to describe it is with more exploration, you'll be rewarded. So you'll find more powerful or more rare wilds, or you'll find better held items, or yeah, things of that nature. Basically, you'll become more powerful by
Yeah.
exploring more. Essentially, is what that's going to boil down to.
Mm-hmm. And there'll be stuff that you get that people that don't like just do what the NPCs tell them to do. You'll have more. Um, how do I want to say this? There'll be merit to exploring. It's not going to be meritless or fruitless for going out of your way to try to see what the heck is in that little cave up there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question is, okay, we'll talk about this one because this is the question everyone's been waiting for. Are you guys concerned about Nintendo's attack on Palworld? Have you taken steps to ensure Nintendo can't claim infringement on patent mechanics? Yes, everyone's first question and the topic of on everyone's mind. So I'll start by saying, obviously our game is heavily inspired by multiple other games. Some of them being Nintendo games, some of them being other games. Our goal is not to rip off or completely direct copy any game, but instead be inspired by several other of our favorite games and kind of capitalize on the things we like most, but also do something unique and fulfill a need that has not been fulfilled. There's this kind of outstanding opinion that a lot of people have, and especially with, I know obviously the Palworld and the Pokemon lawsuit thing is hot in the news right now. People think that kind of Nintendo has this 100% grasp on just creature taming in general, as like a overarching, like it's only them, which is just blatantly not true. It's just this narrative that people have seemed to get pushed on them and adhere to, when there's been plenty of other games that are fall in that category. So all that to say is we're not concerned. We are actively trying to be unique. We're trying to make our own game. We don't want to be ripping off anything. We have more specifically dove into the specific patents that Palworld struggled with. We're doing our best to not infringe upon any legally binding documents. Yeah, all that to say, we're being careful. We are trying to make our own unique experience, and yeah, so no, we're not worried about it. We're being careful, and the goal is not to rip off, but instead create something unique.
Well said. All right, on to more brighter topics, perhaps.
Yes.
Is there going to be alternate color forms? Going to paraphrase a little bit, but yeah, we do plan. If you check on the Kickstarter, there are astral variants, which are just going to be alternate colors, I believe, of the different creatures you find. So there'll be ways to, grind for those, and that'll be like, I know a lot of people have enjoyed that as a favorite pastime. So, you have more to say about that, or?
Yeah, no, that something really cool that I'm amped about, because obviously everyone likes alternate rare variants. What we're gonna do, one of the worst feelings in similar games is when you get one of those rare encounters and then you look at it and it's like, oh, the stats are terrible. What we're gonna do is actually basically guarantee a certain level of stats on those rare variants, so that when you encounter what's called an astral variant in our world, it's gonna be guaranteed, X stats. But basically, it's gonna have really good gene values, so that if you see one of those, not only does it look cool because it's an alternate color scheme, but it'll have insanely good stats too, which is pretty unique and also adds to the novelty of finding that super rare encounter.
Mhm. Sweet. Is there going to be a demo of the game? I kind of touched on this. One of the Kickstarter rewards is getting beta access, I believe, or is it alpha
Alpha,
access? I don't remember which one. It's alpha
alpha,
access.
yeah.
So get alpha access when that's ready, and then I believe we'll probably have like a 20-30 minute demo of the game when it actually launches on Steam for people to try before they buy.
Yep.
I don't hold me to that, but I believe that'll probably be the case. Um, Matthew also wants to know, is the change in weather static or dynamic? I think there'll probably be a little bit of both. There'll be areas that have different weather all the time, and then there will be areas
Mm-hmm.
that have revolving weather effects for sure.
Yep.
That's another comment about about
We
Power
touched on
World.
that. We touched on
Yeah,
that one
we
already.
touched on that.
Does the game work on Steam Deck? I had that question a few times. Really don't know, to be honest. That's something we'll have to just try. Honestly, don't have experience with, because I know Steam has the thing where it's like there's like a parameter on a Steam page that says works on Steam Deck. Don't know if there's any special porting or if games just natively run on it. So truthfully, can't answer that question right now. But it's something that we will try, for sure, once we get to the point of 1.0 release.
Sweet. Um, you see the next one.
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay. Uh, will there be there is an alpha beta that's will be available when we get closer to release. You can get access to that by donating on the Kickstarter. But if you there will also be a demo when the game actually releases on Steam. Um,
I'll keep us going here because we're getting close here. So if your question's gonna get skipped, I do apologize. Some of these kind of carry over. We've obviously rambled on a few of these questions, so I'm gonna try to skip over and find something that's like kind of brand new. Um, will there be a way to adjust stats post catch? Harrison, you want to talk on that one?
yeah, sure. Yeah, 100%. The plan is to make it pretty accessible when like because the when that matters to the players when they're doing PvP or like late game stuff. And obviously like getting ways to change it while you're playing, like through the main story, is also like can be important for challenge runs and stuff. So it'll be pretty available. We're toying with a couple ideas on how to like balance it because it is like ultimately a pretty broken thing to be able to do to like maximize a creature's speed so it's like outspeeding everything or like its defense or whatever. But there will be a way to do that. There'll also be a way to change abilities. So any creature that you catch and you end up really liking, you can by the end of the game you'll be able to craft it to whatever like stat line you want or whatever ability you want. So yeah, that'll be available.
Yep. Yeah, like we said, we're still toying around with how we want to do that. We know it's going to be included in some capacity, but you can't make it too accessible, or it kind of takes out some of the difficulty or challenge of the game. So we're still toying around and trying to come up with an idea to make it make sense. So another question here. I'm gonna answer this one, and then we'll jump to the Discord questions because I want to make sure we got all those. A lot of those have been covered actually by these YouTube questions. So that's good there.
Mhm.
One of them is, um, will you be able to have all 6 wilds follow you? There's actually been quite a few people that have asked that question, funny enough, because of the clip in the trailer that shows that. That is the plan, and a lot of people have expressed interest in that, so I think that is a feature that we're going
Oh, sweet.
to include or look at including. So yeah, thanks for that
on,
comment too and feedback there.
on that topic, but I we specifically like I know that in other games they're like you can set up a camp with your creatures and you can kind of like make them food, pet and water them and stuff like that. I can't promise that'll be in, but I do like the idea of having like cutscenes and like little slice of life stuff. But we'll see how that goes. Not gonna
Yeah.
make any promises on that, but definitely something we're thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna jump to Discord here, and I'll select some questions that make the most sense that we haven't covered already.
Sweet.
Nebula asks, will there be a need for beta testers, and if so, how would you become one? Um, so I think the best way to answer that question is that we're going to release the alpha exclusively to the Kickstarter backers that are of the legacy tier or above, which is the large majority of our supporters, which is awesome. But we're going to be gathering a lot of feedback from that, and that's going to release several months before the actual 1.0 goes live for everyone to, publicly purchase and buy off Steam. So that's essentially going to be, effectively what you're asking there is we're going to release that to the backers and gather as much feedback as we can and bugs and figure out all that stuff. So yeah, a lot of these have been covered already. Okay, here's an interesting one, and I'm going to let Harrison answer this one. Do you have any rules in place when designing wilds? Examples could be if you are planning on making or resembling inanimate objects or humans instead of just animals. It's a good question.
Cool. Yeah. So I can't like I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without spoiling the game before it's 100% out. Um,
I know what you mean.
yeah. There aren't any hard rules for wilds. What I will say is the world of Avium was changed when if you read the Kickstarter page, it's kind of describing this, but there's kind of a natural or unnatural disaster, I guess. Because a magic comet isn't really natural, but it passes over and changes all of the wildlife in Avium, and so there are a lot of things that like switched forms and stuff like that, and kind of like evolved and grew into these kind of more monstrous creatures. And that's not to say that it didn't also stretch to humans and inanimate objects. It totally could. There aren't any inanimate objects like planned as wilds in the trailer. I will say that there are a few that, if you look exactly at like some of the types and affinities that we have, like there is literally a construct one, so there are planned to be like some robot looking creatures. But yeah, no, I don't hate the idea of I know we do have, I don't know if you'll be in the game, but there is one of my favorite like scrapped creatures, I guess, is based off of one of the like garden turtles that you see people have. Like it's a little rock turtle who's gonna be like inanimate, like standing, and you like encounter you kind of like a jump scare. I really like the idea of that guy, but maybe that wasn't. We decided there were other creatures that were better to showcase. So, I yeah, I think that's enough yapping on that. I could go on forever, but
Yeah, yeah, no, it's an interesting topic, and it's also hard when you have a world that looks like what you see in the trailer to make a you know inanimate object fit in naturally, and that as well can be challenging, but not impossible. So yeah, I mean the rules are pretty open, I would say.
Mhm.
Next question. I'm actually going to combine two questions here because they can lead into each other. First one is from Kyle, which is, will it be easy in the early game of Wildbound to have a diverse team of wilds so that everyone doesn't have the exact same starter team at the beginning of the game, which is a great question, a fair concern that a lot of similar games have. And then the second question that ties into this from Studley is the game's story going to be a linear narrative? So one thing that's really, really cool that we've had kind of been an idea from almost day one is if you look at the map, which is on the Kickstarter page, there's essentially four like regions of the map, and when you start the game, you're going to be able to choose your starting region. So you'll basically have a choice of four regions to pick from that you can start from, and basically that will shape, how you start the game. It'll shape the wilds that you first encounter, the people that you first, the quest line that you start with. So that will in itself diversify the beginning of the game a lot from person to person, because you might start in one place and your buddy might start in a different place. But what's cool is it's not going to be fully linear because you can start wherever, but then you can immediately go wherever too. So the way we currently have it structured is there's basically going to be essentially a plot line per region. They're going to tie into each other, but you can progress as far as you want in any of those four regions, and then you can leave and go to another region whenever,
Mhm.
and then you can come back. So you could start in one area, get 10% of the way through, and then if you wanted to venture off to another region, you could do that too, and then you could beat that fully and go to the next one. So basically, is it linear? No, you could argue maybe there's a small sense of linearity in the main quest lines where there's essentially four of them, one per region, but there's some tie in between them.
Yeah, I got something to jump in
Yeah, please.
on the linear narrative. I think is the game's progression linear? No, you can do that in whatever order you want. Hopefully, I not hopefully you will be able to do it whatever order you want.
Mm-hmm.
But is the narrative linear? Yes, the story. I don't think we're going the route of like popular like I'll just say Undertale because that's probably everyone's played that probably, but there won't there isn't as it stands right now isn't a huge emphasis on choices matter. That's not to say that won't change with other things. There've been I know early on in development I've had fielded a couple other like diverging plot lines based on your answers. But based on the scope of the game, we're probably not going to have that in the main four stories. But that is something I definitely want to do in the side quests to have your choices to like help people kind of subtly impact the world that you're in. We'll see if that manages to go into the main narrative, but I think the narrative will overall be pretty linear in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say it won't be exciting and enjoyable, but it will be. Everyone will have the same experience, likely,
Yes.
narratively.
Yep. Okay, I think in regards to the Discord questions, I'm making sure I'm not missing it. I think we covered most of them. There was one other question. This is a good question, but I don't know that I have an answer to it really as of right now. But it's, are there any plans to have interactions with the wilds outside of battle? So I think that kind of comes back to the like the picnic thing we
Gotcha.
were talking about. Harrison, you
Yeah,
can talk
so
on that.
hard plans to have interactions in battle, no. They are planned to follow you as you walk around the overworld, and there'll probably be interactions you can have with them where you'll get little quips about kind of what they're looking at, what they're feeling, how they feel about you, and stuff like that. But it is something that we like definitely adds. I know it adds a lot of flavor to the game, and like part of the reason like anyone is any ever interested in playing one of these is they particularly like a creature and they want to interact with it in more ways than having it fight for you. So it's definitely something that I would like to include, but it's not exactly planned.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be areas in the side quest for you to like develop special bonds with your creatures and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but hard plans, no, not at the moment. We're still pretty early on.
Yep. Um, let's take we're at the head of the hour here, so let's take one more question here, and then we'll wrap things up. It's been a constant flow of questions, so appreciate it. I think we peaked at around 30 people joining in live, which is pretty cool. So thanks for that. Um, I'm looking here to find the last one. Will the stories be the same no matter which starter you choose? That kind of ties into the conversation we were just having. So you can basically pick which part of the map you want to start in, and then, and Harrison, you can probably speak on this more, but the idea is that there's, in the traditional sense of a starter, we're going to kind of veer from that a little bit and do it a little differently.
Oh yeah, there won't be you won't be locked out of any wilds in the game just based off of like the beginning which one you decide to go with. You'll have the opportunity depending on which biome you pick if you or sorry starting town you pick whether it be spring, fall, winter or summer. They'll get the opportunity to kind of like free range go try to capture or not sorry not capture but get some DNA using your catalyst and that'll be kind of your first wild that you get. Um, so yeah, your starter, if we refer to that as the first wild that you decide to catch, that won't have any impact on the story at all. Um,
Yeah, no
but yeah,
impact, as well as it can be it's not going to be like, hey, pick from a couple things here and here's your starting wild. No, it's you're going to be set on a mission to go out and just encounter something, and so it'll be a regular area that you could theoretically get a wide number of things, which is pretty cool, I think, and pretty different from the other games in the
Yeah.
genre.
The the hope is that this kind of leads to more replayability in the harder difficulties because you'll have access to areas closer to you, like depending on where you decide to start on the map, as well as like you have different side quests that are closer to you. You'll also have different creatures of like because the biomes are so different, you'll have access to different types in other areas. So I'm hoping that they'll be like, well, let's do like a winter starting run, or let's do a spring summer run. They look completely different from each other in terms of what you want and what areas you want to like go to first. But yeah,
Okay, I think we're gonna call it there. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Like I said, some pretty good showing for the first one, and semi short notice. So seems like we had some pretty good feedback on this. So we'll probably continue to do another one. Maybe because we're in the Kickstarter swing of things still. Maybe they'll be more frequent than they would be longer term. We'll have to see.
mm-hmm.
But so we're like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're currently roughly 1 week deep into the Kickstarter. We are 22% of the way funded of our 100K funding goal. Which is great, really good progress and turnout so far. Big shout out! I know a lot of you heard about us through our two sponsored partners, which is Flygon and Zwigo. So big thanks to them, and shout out to you guys if you're here because of them. They made some pretty great sponsored bits for us in some of the recent videos, so I know that's where a lot of people came from, which was pretty cool. We're going to continue doing more promotion like this and continue marketing so we can continue to drive the funding number up. There's been a handful of people that are worried that we're not going to hit the goal, but we're going to continue working at it, doing events like this, and continue marketing to get that number driven up. Kickstarters are also, if this is the first, there's a lot of people that are donating to a Kickstarter for the first time, I've noticed too. As we look through our backers, there's quite a few first-time backers. Something you should know is that it's natural for Kickstarters to kind of follow this U-shaped cycle where there's a lot of hype up front, and kind of in the middle of the campaign it slows down a lot because people are waiting to see what happened, and then towards the back half it picks up again. So all that to say is, don't get discouraged. We're not discouraged. We're gonna keep pushing forward and continue to raise awareness and raise funds. We'd really appreciate it if you guys are able to share it anywhere, even if it's a conversation on Twitter, or send it to a friend or throw it in another Discord. Every bit helps and every share helps. So yeah,
Well said.
thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.